Let's go back to the end of 2019, when we all just felt like babies, just seeds of a tree freshly planted, innocent, excited, ready to blossom. I remember I was about to take off in my career. I was about to continue touring in my mental health public speaking, in music, and in other entrepreneurial projects, and even come back to Vietnam. Then 2020 hit. Do you remember where you were? When you felt that restart button and knew things were about to change. It's like we planted our seeds, grew out a little of the ground, and saw that light, and then we were stomped on and right back into the ground. Broken, stunned. Our most challenging traumas and emotions became our only friend in isolation, and we were reminded how breaking out of the ground is not only the hardest part in growth, but that this ground didn't even want us to break out. And if we did, we just entered a huge storm. The impact of 2019 took us to places, experiences, and challenges that we've never seen, felt, or imagined. And it reset our entire lives, and it reset our growth. Your fear should be to continue living this way, not ridding yourself of it. A friend sent me that message to me when I was choosing to carry certain traumas for too long instead of healing it and dropping it. Almost like a dead leaf. Why should we let those leaves stay when they no longer serve us and are filling up the spaces that should be for new and beautiful leaves? We don't go looking for this trauma, but we go looking for life, and life is about living. And for once in our lifetime, we all experience the same impact that brought all of our individual emotions, unhealed wounds, and traumatic memories to the surface. I was in the United States for half of 2020 and in London, England for the other half, and saw with my own eyes how COVID-19 brought that same emotion of confusion, uncertainty, and trauma to everyone. And I remember thinking to myself that it didn't really matter where I was in the world. It was all the same in a sense. All I could do is remain self-rooted and balanced in this present moment, even though I didn't want to accept that this is where we were. Because it's hard. It's hard to focus on yourself in the present moment because of how many distractions there are and that we have in life. I read a book by TEDxDaKaoStudio Han that gave an example of when an animal gets hurt, and I quote, "When an animal in the forest gets wounded, they find a place to lie down and they rest completely for many days. They don't think about food or anything else. They just rest and they get the healing they need." We as humans find so many mental and physical distractions to avoid dealing with something, feeling something. And for so many centuries, it's been happening. We distract ourselves and it takes us in so many directions we forget what we're actually trying to accomplish and see. I remember the consequences I faced from a different form of distraction, because distractions can take many different forms, but they cause the same problem. They put your growth on pause. I remember it clearly because it was one of the hardest times in my life. I was truly a baby because I was in middle school. I was bullied and cyberbullied, and the distractions I developed to avoid dealing with all my trauma and self-reflection were very toxic. I was self-harming, I was cutting myself, I was starving myself. I was living in a constant state of depression and anxiety that made my days so long, my emotions and thoughts so dark. It felt like I was in a storm every day. I saw death within myself during that time. I was paused for so long, I thought that's what death was. I was numb and filled with hatred. I would cut myself not to only feel, but to release the little life I thought I had. But then I had to watch my mom die. And I saw life and death pass so fast. She died after fighting cancer for 5 years. As much as I grew from the trauma of the bullying and maintaining recovery from those toxic distractions, this was a whole new level of trauma. It changed everything. And it put me at a rock bottom I've never seen before. But it became the origin of my new self. I had to go on a quest to rediscover what life was and how the best way to live life in giving it back to what my mom's death created. My adoptive father, my sisters, my family, my friends, we all experienced the same emotion of loss and grievance. It wasn't just the sadness of loss from losing the person she was. It was the future of ours together, who she would have grown into and become, and the grievance that we would never know. All we did know is the memory of who she was. I went on a quest to gain more guidance to fully understand and deal with my emotions, and I moved to Nashville, Tennessee to start my career. It led me to so many people, but my path intertwined with a girl named Kiana. She herself has seen so much loss. She told me, and I quote, "For me, it was never easy to pull myself out of those dark times and has been a continual journey. But choosing to move forward with love while digging deep for each lesson has taught me and given me the ability to use those lessons to strengthen myself." She told me her story and to shine that guidance and light to my own situation and a sense of community that we are now in this quest together. I recognized a lot of those emotions and feelings returning in 2020. No matter who or what we lose, there is grievance. Big or small, no matter if it's losing someone in life, in love, anything, we all face that same emotion. Grievance. I lost a number of mutual friends to COVID-19, some to death, some just separated by our differences as our leaves turned into weeds. I lost a relationship not to death, but it felt the same because of what was going on with the global pandemic and how it ended with the same outcome as if one of us died. Grieving the dead is hard. Grieving the living is a whole nother story. With life, there is death. Those who pass have it easier because we who live have to deal with it for the rest of our lives. 2020 was just a little bit heavier because it felt like the world was grieving the world and everyone was grieving everyone. So is this grief ever going to end? You can see that life is a quest and we are just living it. There is good and there is bad in the world, and most of the times it's at an imbalance. The only thing we can do is find balance within ourselves and remain self-rooted. The number one thing you can remember when you question your life, when you question your branches, and when you question your growth, is just remembering how far you are. Think about it. Where you were, where you are now, and where you still want to go. Because you didn't come this far just to come this far. I have learned from so many who have experienced things far worse than I have. I've learned that our sufferings and our traumas are things we are born with. Some of them are passed down through generations, and some are obviously what we experience through life. The pain, the trauma, and the emotions involved are so real to everyone. But with every challenge and every moment we are about to pause or feel like we're about to end, we keep living because we have to keep going. And by going, we keep growing. My boyfriend Tommy has experienced loss too. He lost his sister when he was 4 and he's 31 now. He was truly a baby, so he doesn't remember a whole lot, but the emotions were real and the grievance was real, just like his family and friends. He felt those emotions even at that age, but being at that age, he knew that he had so much more life to live and that he couldn't just pause now. In his quest to where he is now, 27 years later, he is so self-rooted. He knows he still has a lot of growing, but he also knows that God forbid he experiences loss again, he would recognize that grievance. He would feel that emotion. But he will know that life continues after death because he knows how far and how much life he has lived since he was 4. On my continuous path, it led me to my passions as a public speaker, and I have toured schools here in the United States. I get to talk to these kids about my story, but they get to tell me theirs as well. They tell me the times they've put their life on pause because of cyberbullying and bullying. They show me their scars both physically and mentally. I've seen a repetitive cycle through so many ages, grades, and growth that it taught me that everyone has a choice. That no one has to continue this negative cycle of hate and have that poison within their roots. So are we going to remain on pause and become that poison or continue our self-rooted journey? Can you take a minute and imagine the balance, the peace, and the healing in the world if you start with your own world? If you find peace with your trauma, your mind, and your soul, and are so self-rooted within yourself, you will know what love is then. You will then be able to influence and give that to your family and your community around you, and it will ripple effect to where more people will do it. And in time, we would all intertwine as one. Tend to suffer from our imagination of the future, from the memories of the past, instead of living and dealing with where we are today. But the future isn't here yet. We are just writing it now. We are writing it from what we've learned from the past and what we like and we don't like in the present. We all feel the same emotions, just in different ways. But we all want the same thing. We all want love, kindness, and understanding. But we don't have to look far for it. If we are self-rooted, we can nurture and give it to ourselves, which will show others that we not only are worth it, but we deserve it, and that we know it. So how do you find the self-rootedness? Well, let's remember what self-harm is. The stories I told you about staying present with the toxic distractions like self-harm, starving yourself, and keeping yourself at rock bottom, that is self-harm. That will stunt your growth and stomp you right back into the ground. Self-rootedness is self-care, self-love, and above all, self-peace. Close your eyes for a minute and let me be your messenger and your voice. Close your eyes and let me speak as if I am you. I understand my trauma, but I am not my trauma. I am me. Little by little, I am growing and I'm finding places to leave my past with my past self, who I think, because that is where it belongs. Because I will no longer carry that weight and dead leaves, because the space is needed for my best self. My best self will help me transform myself into my future self, who is my hero, and I can't wait to meet. Open your eyes and see that you are worth that peace for yourself. War. War is battling, fighting, which is all just suffering. The opposite of peace is war, and that will be the battle in fighting. But if we don't understand peace, we settle with war and we fight with no solution. There will always be someone or something who will want nothing more than to confiscate your peace and humanity's peace, to separate us not only from each other, but from our growth, and most of all, from ourselves. You at peace is the peace flag for the world, because you have to be that best version of yourself to give that best version to your family, to your friends, and then to the world. In the end of the day, this must be the way, because the world needs your flag in fighting the numerous wars in the world. Sometimes we think because there are so many people that we don't matter. We feel alone. But I need you. Your family needs you. And all of us in the world needs you. I wish I could be with you right now. We may be very far away from each other, but this song is from me to you to know that you are not alone.
Rainy days every day, follow every step you take. Clouds above your head, and the ground just shakes. The pain you feel inside, like lightning struck your heart. Thunder rolls your mind, but every day the sun comes up.
Thank you.